Welcome back to 5-Minute History, where we dig up the strangest, most human stories the past has buried. Today's story starts with a rope, a ceiling, and a job that doesn't exist anymore. Before electricity, before the first air conditioner was ever built, wealthy households in colonial India had already solved the heat problem by hiring a human being to stand in a corner and pull a rope for hours, all day and all night. This device was called a punkah, a large rectangular fan made of wood or cane, covered in cloth, suspended from the ceiling. A rope ran through a pulley, sometimes through a small hole in the wall, so it could be pulled from outside the room. When pulled back and forth, it created a steady breeze across the entire room. This wasn't a small household item either. Some punkahs stretched over 4 meters wide. The person operating it was called a punkah-wallah. Wallah simply meaning the person who does this job. Punkah-wallahs typically came from lower castes, and this job, once seasonal, gradually became a permanent fixture of colonial households. Wealthy British families didn't stop at one. One British resident described having a separate punkah over the bed, over the bathtub, over the dressing table, over the dining table, and over the desk, with servants trained to follow you from room to room, switching chords as you moved. The job may sound simple, but the conditions were brutal. Punkah-wallahs often worked in shifts around the clock, including through the night, sometimes pulling the rope with their feet while lying on their backs just to keep moving. Employers deliberately kept them in uncomfortable positions to prevent them from falling asleep, and punishment for dozing off could be severe. In some documented cases, exhausted punkah-wallahs were beaten so badly that it proved fatal. Some employers even preferred hiring punkah-wallahs who were deaf, so that private conversations in the room couldn't be overheard while the servant sat working just a few feet away. Here's what makes this story more complicated. The punkah wasn't a British invention at all. Fans like this had already existed in Arab courts as early as the 8th century, and were in use at the Mughal emperor's court centuries before the British East India Company ever arrived. What British colonial rule changed wasn't the invention, it was the scale. Under colonial rule, the punkah-wallah system expanded dramatically, becoming an entire industry that employed thousands of workers across the region. So, what ended this system? Electricity. When the electric ceiling fan arrived in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, it quietly replaced thousands of human punkah-wallahs almost overnight. What once required a person's entire waking and sleeping hours could now be done with the flip of a switch. It's a strange kind of progress, a labor-saving invention that, for the people who did that labor, meant losing their livelihood entirely. The decline wasn't just about technology either. As the punkah-wallah system grew into a massive, seasonal industry employing thousands of workers, British colonial administrators began looking for ways to cut the cost of paying them. Indian nationalist movements at the time pushed back, arguing that reducing these jobs unfairly targeted native workers. In the end, it wasn't a single decision that ended the profession. It was a slow collision of politics, economics, and a new invention that made the whole debate obsolete. Next time you flip a switch to cool a room down, remember, for over a century, that same comfort came from another human being's exhausting, invisible labor, History doesn't just live in monuments. Sometimes it's in the things we take completely for granted. If you enjoyed this, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next 5-minute history journey.